Hi, I'm Vivian Kopsinger-Birchall here at Willow Lane at the Acton's Nashoba Brook Conservation Land. This is a video tour of the trail through time. And with me is Linda and Bettina, who will be guiding us through this tour, and they're going to tell us all about this conservation land and what this tour is all about. To start, what does Nashoba mean?
It's an Indian word. I'm not sure how broadly it was used, but by the local Native American tribe, it meant either land between or among the flowing waters, or land among the lakes and ponds, of which there are a lot in this region.
Nashoba Brook Conservation Land is one of 21 unique named parcels with trail systems owned by the town of Acton, free and open to the public. But before I get it, I want Bettina to tell us more about that part, since she is working with the Conservation Natural Resources Department, and this is her baby. Bettina.
Well, we just like people to know that they can visit the website, which is trails.actonma.gov, and they can get maps to all the different conservation lands. There's over 30 miles of trails. Linda McElroy was the creator of the Land Stewardship Committee in the early 90s. Mid-90s. And there's a land steward for each conservation land. They include the Acton Arboretum. They even include Morrison Farm, which is not technically a conservation land, but they're all fun, worth exploring. And you can earn the I Hiked Acton's Trails badge if you fill out the form and send it back to us.
And how long is this trail?
2 miles. The main loop is 2 miles. It's about a mile on either side of the brook, and there are rustic footbridges that cross, one right here and the other one down there. Then there are two little side trails. Those are the ones that are remote.
Extra trails. So people should really allow 2 hours minimum and make sure that they bring everything they need to be safe on the trail: phone, map, water to drink. Make sure that they're not going to finish when it's too dark. Just plan ahead.
So again, today we'll tell you a little bit about how Trail Through Time came to be, and we'll also take you with us on a hike, and we'll visit 12 stops along the trail, and at each stop Bettina will be telling us a story about the stop. So Linda, we've talked about Trail Through Time over and over again. So how did this come about?
Well, that's a great question. And like many things, it just wasn't the result of one thing at one point in time, but it was sort of the coming together, in my mind, of 3 separate circumstances that also happened at just the right time, when the town was ready for it. The first circumstance, Bettina has already referred to, that I founded the Land Stewards in the middle 90s, and what we did first, once we had a steward for each of the parcels, was to survey each parcel to see what, how many trucks and old refrigerators we'd have to move, and to figure out where the best trail would go and how much deadwood there was and so on. In the course of surveying those parcels, I was conscious of the interest of piles of stone ruins, and also some of the stone ruins of colonial structures. So that it was in my mind. And then the second thing that contributed to this was the fact that I had been on the board, member of the organization, and on the board of the organization for maybe 20 years. A group it's called the New England Antiquities Research Association, and it's a regional nonprofit organization interested in preservation and education of the public about these stone structures, which occur all over the Northeast. They're in all of the New England states, as well as New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So my consciousness was really raised when I saw a pile of stones. I didn't think, oh, this is just a field clearing pile, or it's just a pile that was dumped by the glacier. I knew it was likely Native American and it was of interest. And the third thing that contributed to bringing this into reality was that the town of Acton had only recently adopted the state Community Preservation Act. And each town who wishes to participate in that program has to be approved, and they've set aside a certain percentage of the real estate revenues of the town annually. And then we formed a committee, the Community Preservation Committee, and they are the people who decide, as people apply for projects that they'd like to have supported by that funding source, they decide which projects they will fund in a given year. So Tom Tidman, who is now Natural Resources Director, he was still in the same position at that time, he made me aware, this was early 2000, maybe 2002 or 3, he made me aware that that funding was possible. And he said, why don't we, you, apply for an award and see if we can't restore the chamber, because the chamber it's the most dramatic of the things that are on the trail, actually.
It's very cool.
And it's still very controversial as to whether the Indians built it or whether it was built by the colonists to store root crops, which I personally and the people I talk to tend to think is not the case. But in any case, we got an award, which was very modest, $10,000, to pay for the professionals and supplies that we needed. In fact, all of the work that's been done on the trail over maybe 10 or 12 year period, mostly done by volunteers. And the funding that we got was only applied to when we needed a professional. In this case, we needed stonemasons to do the repair, and we needed an archaeologist to do a complete archaeological survey. And so it was a hot, humid, awful day in June. We were all of us tired. We didn't really want to work anymore, sitting around plotting black flies and picking the ticks off them if they dropped from the trees. And suddenly I had this vision. Wouldn't it be neat if we could make use of trails that already existed and create a pathway which would tie them all together? So I thought maybe that was a crazy idea, so I sort of started at the bottom of the rung and I asked people who were not involved in the town at all whether they thought it was a crazy idea, and then worked my way up. Well, in any case, I finally did get approval from the Board of Selectmen and applied for a second grant from the committee, Community Preservation Committee, and that was to restore this site here. There are two sites. This is the Wheeler Farmstead, and that over there is the Wheeler Mill site. They're two separate, they're connected, but we've treated them as two separate sites. I obtained a third award, which nominally was going to be for the restoration of the mill site, but then the masons decided that the dam was in poor enough condition, and given the fact that we're now having 100-year floods every 10 years or so, they felt that it would be money wasted to do what we wanted to do unless the dam was repaired as well and 2 new modern type of gates were put in for flood control. And the town didn't have the money to do that. So I switched that money over, started in on the 4 Native American sites, and most of the funding went to the creation of these panels. 4 here, and 12 around in the woods?
Yeah, there's a lot.
And they're not all quite as large as these, but they're all pretty significant, and they were all designed by the same graphic designer. She gave her time pretty much pro bono, but we did have to pay for the manufacture of the panels. So the town was ready. Their awareness had been raised about the value of these resources and the fact that we had as many resources as we do here in Acton from a archaeological dig, which was, the site has been called the Pine Hawk site. That was done around 2000 or 2001.
Well, thank you, Linda. That was very informative, and I think along the trail, Bettina will be telling us more about the archaeological aspect of this trail. And with that, I would like to introduce again Bettina from the Natural Resources Office. Bettina, hi again.
Hello again.
So tell us, what should we expect on the trail?
So it's good to know that the trail is mostly level. I would say about 75% of it is level, but there are a couple of hills, and there's definitely some tripping hazards. So there are rocks and roots. So you should definitely wear good hiking shoes.
Do these pass?
Yes, those are perfect.
With some cleats on the bottom, something to grab a little bit.
So that you don't slip off the rocks. And if the trail is muddy and wet, you should anticipate that, your feet could get wet. So if you have waterproof hiking shoes, that's always good.
Better.
Certain times a year, it can get pretty muddy. But yeah, you just always need to watch where you're walking so you don't trip over anything on the trail. And keep the map, and we're going to bring a map with us while we go, and we will ask our cameraman to take a shot of the map at each stop along the way.
Do I look ready to hike?
Yes,
Am I
you do.
dressed
All right,
appropriately?
ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful time.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you,
Thanks
Linda.
for creating the Trail Tea Time.
Well,
Everyone
and I-
loves it.
Appreciate being allowed to give my little spiel.
So it doesn't look like we had to walk far to get to our first stop. What happened here?
So this big cellar hole is actually the foundation of Thomas Wheeler Jr.'s house from about 1730. So he was the owner of the mill, which we will go to next. And this was his home in the 1730s. And you can go on the website, and the full text of every info panel is on the website.
So Bettina, why do we have stairs going down the pond? Are we encouraging people to go swim?
So, very funny, Vivian. Yes, it does look sort of like a green swimming pool right now. It does dry up the water, but because today is only March 22nd, it's barely spring. So there's some water in there for several months out of the year, but it dries up. And an Eagle Scout made these steps so that folks can actually go down there and walk around. I don't think it's more than, 6 inches or so.
This place is simply beautiful. What is this place? What's the story?
Well, the story is, this is Nashoba Brook. It's a beautiful brook. Its headwaters are up in Westford, and it flows all through Acton and ends up in West Concord in Warner Pond. And what we're standing on right now is a sluiceway. So it wasn't a sluiceway.
Okay.
A sluiceway is a narrower channel that they could block off to make the main channel more powerful. They had a big water wheel turning because there's a natural drop in the elevation here.
So that was a very interesting place. Beautiful, but very interesting, because one part had very still water, and right at the other side was a dam with some, I want to call them rapids. What do you call them?
Yes.
Are they rapids?
Yes.
So what's the story?
So basically, this is a man-made earthen dam made of earth and rocks hundreds of years ago, and the dam is holding back Nashoba Brook, creating a mill pond. So you have this beautiful quiet water, like you said. Mm-hmm. It's deeper, it's wider, and that weight of the water is what would turn the wheel in the dam. And then that is the sluiceway over there that we were standing over before. And they could shut the sluice if water was low to give more power to the big water wheel. Okay, here is the panel for the old road to Concord. And you can see we started at Wheeler Lane, and we came down the path, we crossed this little wooden footbridge, and now we are right here. So we're going to make a loop that goes down like this around all of Nashoba Brook, with one little shortcut sneaking off to Pipsissowa.
So you just said that this is the old road to Concord, right? Where does it go?
It goes to Concord.
Come on. All right.
But seriously, it goes to Pope Road,
Okay.
which used to be Concord, because Acton used to be Concord.
All right.
But you can see the stones lining both sides of this very wide trail. That's because it was a road.
And is there anything special about the stones?
Not in particular. It's amazing to think that people move them because they're so huge. But no, that's just it. But you can read about it on the website.
So Bettina, we've come across many markers like this. Yellow, what does that mean for a hiker?
What that means is, and that's a very good question, is the Land Stewardship Committee trail colors are all the main trails are painted yellow. So that is a trailblaze. And you have to pay attention to them to know where you are. We're going to be following the yellow or the main trail for most of the way. There's also some that are painted red. Red means you're either coming from parking, you're coming in, or you're connecting between other conservation lands. And blue is usually a shortcut.
So I was walking fast and I stopped midway because I realized that was the red. Why is it important for us to pay attention to this?
Yeah, good question. Because if you were looking at your feet, you might see that this trail is a little more worn and you might have wandered off in this direction. And then you would look up and see red. So that's actually here. And that would be leaving the Nashoba Brook Trail. So we want to keep going and staying on yellow. So it's good to make sure that you choose yellow at this intersection right here.
So we are at our next stop. It's called the Blueberry Stone Pile Cluster. Why blueberries? Because when I hear the word or see the word blueberry, all I can think of is the fruit.
Of course. Well, what Linda decided to do with the Native American sites was we don't really know what these sites' proper name is in Algonquian or any other Native American language. So Linda decided to name them after a plant that was prevalent on the site. And there happens to be a lot of high bush blueberries growing around here. And you can come back in July, Vivian, and have a snack.
I was just about to say, it's hard to tell which plant is the blueberry, but
they're hiding in plain sight.
I can't wait.
This is a really cool area, and it only has a few, but it has some very beautiful stone pile clusters that have different significance for Native Americans. We're not exactly sure what a stone pile cluster means. There's several thoughts on it. It could be to commemorate something that happened here, birth or death or something celestial that occurs in the sky. And that's what a lot of Native American ceremonial stone landscapes are they are celestial related. So like equinoxes, when the day and night are equal, or when there is lunar standstills, or Perseid meteor showers, or summer solstice and winter solstice. Those are all very significant for indigenous people.
Wow, we're at the plantain stone pile cluster. Now, this is very amusing for me because plantain to me is a big thing. We have like so many varieties of plantains in Uganda where I come from. So, why plantains here? Because this is not the weather for plantains.
In New England, there's this plant here called downy rattlesnake plantain, and it's a really pretty little evergreen plant. It's a member of the orchid family.
I cannot. Why was it given the word? Because it doesn't belong to that class of plantain.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So with plant classification, the common name can be very misleading. So real botanists, of which you and I are not, they would be using the Latin name.
Okay.
But the common names, you know, they're very useful as well. We've come all the way from Wheeler Lane, all the way down here, and now we're right here, and we're going to keep going around, and we'll take a quick sidestep to Pipsissowa. But right here, this is telling you about this field of stone clusters, which is primarily over there.
Okay.
And these could have celestial alignments with different stars, or there's many different names for the stone pile clusters and reasons why they exist. And the Native Americans would contribute stones to the piles because this area had spiritual significance for them.
Yeah, it was amazing to see the clusters of the piles.
It's really incredible.
And I hope to learn more about this clustering.
One thing that we would like to do is be able to date the piles. And there's some new technology coming about now where you can actually get different radiological kinds of readings of the stones to figure out down in there exactly when that stone was placed. And I'm really looking forward to the technology becoming used more, because then we could maybe date these stone piles. The Massachusetts Historical Society does not consider it a legitimate classification to say that these are Native American ceremonial stone.
Why is that so?
I think because they don't have enough evidence. So once we get scientific evidence for this, I think it's going to turn a lot of things on their head. Because if they're dated hundreds and hundreds of years old before settlers came here, then it has to be Native American.
I can imagine how much that project would cost, but yeah, I hope it's done.
Me too.
All
Let's
right.
go look at the pest house.
Pest House City. So, you just called this a pest. Can you please tell us what a pest means and why do they call it a pest?
Well, I think, Linda, as the creator of the Trail Through Time, they called it a pest house because, pest and pestilence or disease or illness. And it was a way to isolate a sick person. So it has 2 rooms connected by a corridor. So there was known to be a doctor who resided in the area, and in some town records they know he came to visit here and tend to people. So through the research, Linda believes that this could have been what the early settlers called a pest house.
And would they have shelter over it?
It had, this is like the foundation.
Oh, the foundation.
So it would have had walls and a roof.
And so you said you believe it was the settlers, not the indigenous groups, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you, again, tell?
The archaeologists can tell stone foundations that were built by settlers.
Okay. So we are at the regional Native American presence. Tell us about this.
Yes, so this kiosk, Vivian, was built by an Eagle Scout, and it's a 3-sided kiosk. And Linda also used the grant money to purchase this bench. It's a beautiful place to hang out when you come with your family, bring your lunch. The view of Nashoba Brook is really gorgeous.
Can I hang out with you? With a lunch someday?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. So this kiosk has 3 topics on Native American lifestyle and the religion. So like this one talks about the USET proclamation, the 27 tribes who said that the CSLs, ceremonial stone landscapes, have spiritual significance for them. And that's like our biggest driver for why we assert the stone piles and different Indian aspects are indeed Indian.
Okay.
So you can. This panel is on the website, and this tells you a little bit about the history. It's fascinating. So
Right.
Vivian, over here, we've got a panel on Native American spiritual beliefs.
Do you know any of those beliefs?
I do, but I feel like I would not be doing it a justice
All right.
in the amount of time that we have. I highly recommend, if people are interested in the topic, to read the full text, because it's very well researched
Excellent.
by Linda and her cohorts, and a lot of Native Americans contributed as well.
So this is the original Native American lifeways.
Yeah, the lifeways. Oh, and I see a little wasp nest up there, maybe from last year.
This looks a lot like African way of life because the grinding stone is something we use. I have used it at ActonTV to demonstrate how we use it.
Cool.
So tell us about this.
Yeah, this grinding stone was actually a Great Hill conservation land. But for example, Native Americans grew corn, and they could dry the corn and then put the corn in that bowl there and grind it with a grinding stone to make a flour to cook with.
Well, we have some similarities in the way of life.
Absolutely.
This is named after a plant that grows here. What happens when the plant stops growing?
Vivian, these plants have been paid a lot of money to grow here, so they're not allowed to leave. No, I'm just kidding. Fortunately, is a prevalent plant, and princess pine, which is Lycopodium obscurum, it's related to the club moss, and it's prevalent in the woods. Thank goodness.
So what happens if it stops growing in this spot and grows in the other spot?
I think it doesn't matter really because, like I said, Linda named this ceremonial stone landscape cluster after the princess pine. So even if the plant isn't growing here, people will know that this is the site we're speaking about. And here we are, right here, this little green nose trail. And then, Vivian, do you see this rock wall that's it's kind of like you're going like this? They call it an embrasure, I think, kind of because it's almost like an embrace. And the stones are down along here, and they believe that these are Indian walls, and there's a great many beautiful stone clusters up here. So we believe that that the Native Americans would come here, and this place had spiritual significance for them. We don't know exactly what.
Hey, you told me to only follow the yellow trail. Why are we following the green one right now?
Oh, Vivian, very good question. Yet again, green is the trail through time color.
Okay.
So that little nose-shaped trail we showed you on the map is a trail through time trail, same as the pest house one. So green means trail through time.
All right. So we are the Early American pencils. What's this about?
So this is the pencil factory kiosk, and it was built, the kiosk was built by an Eagle Scout with funding from a Massachusetts Trails grant, probably about 20 years ago. And it has 4 panels, and it's commemorating the site of the first pencil factory. So we've talked about ancient civilization, Native Americans. We talked about the 1700s, late 1600s, early 1700s. This is the 3rd time period of the trail through time, and it represents the industrial era. So this is, in the early 1800s, and Ebenezer Wood figured out how to make pencils with a water wheel. It would grind down the wood, and this panel tells like how you make a pencil. So let me tell you about the other panels. So this one tells you about the mills along the Nashoba Brook and it shows you how they work, which is pretty cool. It's a good diagram of the water wheel and the little house on the mill. And this panel is called Beyond the Banks, and it has beautiful illustrations by Tom Tidman, the Natural Resources Director. And he talks about the topography, our Neolithic ancestors. This is the stone chamber, which we're going to visit again later on. And just different aspects of the New England forest. And this one talks about life along the Nashoba and nature. We've been talking about people this whole time, but there's a lot of other things to consider besides just people.
Well, thank you, Bettina. This is very informative.
Let's take a look at the waterfall. Do you want to?
Sure. What is this weird looking thing?
It could be a grinding wheel, like you'd have a post and then you'd have another heavy wheel on top, and you'd put the grain and they would circle around and smush whatever you were trying to smush to either make flour, or you could even take the pulp of apples and make apple cider.
But this looks recent. It doesn't look old at all.
I think, it's like early 1800s.
Okay, that's old.
Look, there's a grinding gear. We need to pull that out and get it up here.
Oh my gosh.
That's a gear from the old mill.
So would that go in there?
Somehow.
How does it work?
Yeah, I think it does, for sure.
So where are we heading next?
Next, we're going to Pipsissowa.
So this is Pipsissowa. Oh.
Yeah. That's that little green arrow is telling you there's another trail through time stop up here.
Okay. So why are we leaving the yellow to go to the green? And I think I see a tree with a red marker.
Yes. Good eye. It's a little confusing, this intersection. So we'll show folks in a moment where we are on the map. But it's where yellow continues by, and this is a red connector to get to Spring Hill, and Pipsissowa is off of Spring Hill.
All right, onward we go.
Onward we go.
At first glance, this site, named Pipsissowa for a small ground cover that grows here, it looks like a relatively level upland dotted with many small to medium-sized boulders and a few stone rows overgrown with brush. But if you look again, you'll see stone piles of different sizes and shapes popping up here and there. As you walk along the curving path, there's many stones that can be spotted, stone piles on the right and the left. And then on the left here is a linearly arranged stack of similar sized stones, and they're tumbling down at either end. We call this short segment of a wall a stack, and it's of Indian origin and served as a sacred ceremonial astronomical purpose for tribal people. This quarry stone that's situated at the end of the path, it lies in this area so cluttered with scattered stones and boulders that walking becomes difficult. Many of these are embedded in the ground where the glacier dropped them many millennia ago. Others have been constructed into piles.
So I read here that we are at the Nashoba Brook Stone Chamber.
We sure are.
What's the story about this chamber, which we'll be going to a short while from now?
Yeah, we're gonna go in there. So basically, about 15 years ago, this was the beginning of Linda's work, and she got a grant to hire state archaeologists to repair it. And then archaeologists and volunteers, and there's Linda there, cleaned it up. And you can see these slabs that are single pieces of rock, and those are the roofs. There's roof slabs, and our last stop of today will be the roof slab quarry.
So why was it important to repair it?
It was important because there are a lot of these mysterious stone chambers, for example, in the Hudson Valley of New York. And there's one also in the town of Acton in Massachusetts, not far from here, about half hour, I think. I haven't seen it yet, but they do exist. And the Historical Society will not confirm that it is of Native American origin, but there are a great many of these that are. And it could be also that the early settlers used them for their purposes when they came to the land for various different things, like storing crops or, you know, any different type of activity that would be useful for. They also could have harvested ice from Nashoba Brook and kept it in the chamber because it's kind of underground and colder. And other foods like meat and apples or that sort of.
Ooh, meat and apples. Well, let's go check it out.
All right. All right. Keep your head down, Mr. Cameraman. Here he comes.
Here comes the
see,
cameraman.
This is the first section, and then it turns. You can see Vivian there. Hi, Vivian.
Hi, I'm just staying still because
She doesn't want to bump her head.
why not? I'm not that tall. Let's see. Let's give it a try. Woo! I can actually stand.
Okay, follow me. Do you see these roof slab pieces? How big they are, Vivian?
Mm-hmm.
These are what we call the roof slabs, and we're going to go to what we think is the origin where these were.
Before we go there,
Quarry.
I'm scared. Can't this fall in?
No, it's very safe.
Okay, I'll trust you.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Hopefully we don't become artifacts. Okay, now we're at the end.
All
Hi,
right.
Vivian.
Hi, Bettina.
And you can see it's got a dirt floor.
What's with this? What's the red mark? Is it
I think it's a little bit of vandalism.
okay.
Someone pulled out this rock, which is very bad. So our archaeologist, stonemason, is going to have to repair it.
This looks absolutely dangerous
It's so fascinating.
and scary.
There's a big roof slab.
But there were geniuses to build something like this.
Yes, absolutely. Cool place, huh?
Cool place.
We
And-
just hope that
and it's a cool
people
hideout.
treat it with respect, so it lasts another 800 years or however long it's been here.
Well,
Heading out.
yep.
I think Vivian's quite happy to be exiting as quickly as possible.
So in case you're wondering why the change in clothes, well, there is an explanation. But I will let the troublemaker explain why we had to change clothes. There you go.
It's just to stay incognito. No, seriously, we had to cover quite a lot of territory, and so our filming took place over 2 days. So if you just hike Nashoba Brook Trail, that's about 2 hours to look at all the Trail Through Time features. But to see Pipsissowa and the roof slab quarry, that adds at least another hour.
Speaking of which, right now I see we are the Robbins Mill Pond Conservation Area, which is not Nashoba Brook. So are you taking me to the wrong direction?
Well, we did a little bit of cheating to make this video efficiently, and we drove to Carlisle Road, to the parking area for Robbins Mill Conservation Land. And through the trees, you can see Nashoba Brook is right there. And there's a large housing development that was purchased, and a piece of conservation land came over with that development. And that's what the roof slab quarry is on this trail.
All right, so what's our next stop then?
We're going to the roof slab quarry.
Onward we go.
Unfortunately, this tree fell in an inconvenient place in the middle of our trail. So now we have to divert and go around it. It's so big that I'm not sure if our land stewards are actually going to come and expend the energy to cutting this with their chainsaws. You can see how huge the diameter of this tree is, and the chainsaw blade is only about that long. It would take a lot of work to cut this thing up so our trail could go through it. So we probably will remake the trail to go around it.
So just to confirm, this is where we parked, walked all the way here, and we're now here, right?
Yes, and you can see Robbins Mill Pond is behind us, or Nashoba Brook.
Okay.
Yeah, and then yesterday we parked at Wheeler Lane, which is right here, and we went in on Yellow, and we could have turned left to come all the way up here. So people might do that. That's a beautiful walk. But instead, we went on Yellow and went down this way.
Is there a particular reason you wanted us to go the Yellow
Well,
route?
since yesterday we didn't really have time to come up here and do this, that's why we've decided to drive today.
And just again, to remind whoever is watching us, what is the Trail Through Time?
The Trail Through Time is basically this whole loop of Nashoba Brook, this long, skinny loop. It's about 1 mile from here to here, and the Nashoba Brook runs right through the middle of it. And this is the high side, this is the low side, and this is the high side.
So right now we are at the Stone Chamber roof slab quarry. Can you tell us the story about this quarry?
Yes, definitely. Let's go and step over here and I'll tell you some more about it.
All right.
This outcrop of jagged vertical boulders is in the adjacent Robbins Mill conservation land next to Nashoba Brook, and it could be the source of the rock slabs that form the roof of the Nashoba Brook stone chamber that we just visited. The chamber itself is located a half a mile downstream from this site. During the restoration of that chamber in the summers of 2006 and 2007, the masons advised us to look for possible sources for the roof slabs. There are 9 roof slabs in the stone chamber. They're rectangular and varying sizes, and they have not been shaped with metal tools, and their size implies a nearby source.
If you look at these slab pieces, Vivian, you can see how that could have been part of the stone chamber roof.
Yeah, there's one right here as well, and many more. You know, there's another flat one up here. This is amazing. I would never have thought to stop and look hard if it wasn't for you. So thank you for taking us through this tour, because it's really helpful for us to understand.
The first time I saw this outcropping, I was just shocked. I was in awe of it. You just don't see this kind of thing very often.
All right, so this is the end of our video tour, right? It's been such a pleasure. It's been such a long walk, and it's time to take a short break before we head out back to our cars. And again, you don't have to spend 2 days to hike this trail, but Bettina can tell us more about how long it takes. So just to remind us,
I think if you're going to do the Nashoba Brook Trail, allow 2 hours. If you're going to do this section by itself, allow 1 hour. And if you're going to add Pipsissowa, allow an extra half an hour.
Excellent. Anything else for our viewers?
Look at that beautiful view of Nashoba Brook.
So yeah, enjoy Acton. There is a lot to see. There's a lot to appreciate, and Trail Through Time is an excellent way to spend time outdoors.
We might add to it as well. We'll let you know, but take a look on the website and you'll learn a lot.
Can you remind our viewers what the website is?
Yes, trails.actonma.gov. Couple of weeks since we did our hike. I was just wondering what your impressions were of the trail and what your thoughts are.
So, first of all, it was a fascinating trip with a very fascinating guide. I got to learn a lot of stuff. First of all, the different formations of the rock piles were so fascinating. I hope anybody who comes out pays attention to the rock piles on the trail, and getting to learn about the different plants and or different stops and why they are called, they have certain names or given certain names. I think overall it was a very fascinating trail, and I felt like every step I made I was walking into history and culture and indigenous land and sacredness of some sort. So it was really enjoyable. It was fun.
Do you think it's a good place to bring your family and children and various ages of visitors?
Absolutely. I think that it is a great place for children to connect with nature, first and foremost, and two, to get to learn about the story of this place, the story of the people who lived here before us.
Yes.
Most of us in New England or Massachusetts are immigrants. I think it's 2/3 of people who live in Massachusetts are from somewhere else. So it's a good place to teach the children that there was life before we came here.
Definitely. And it's, even if you maybe are too young to appreciate the history, there's really cool things to look at, like that foundation and walking through the kiosk and yeah, I agree with you.
And also the different dams and I love water, or just the sound of water. I cannot swim yet, but
well, the industry.
Yes. The industry, the different possible innovations that happened at the time, even though it's not scientifically proven, but it's insinuated based on comparisons with other historical artifacts. So it's a great place for kids to also learn about the different plants.
Yes, agreed. Well, I'm so glad we had the chance to hike the trail.
Yeah.
And thanks for helping us make this video so people who can't come here can know what it's like to visit, and for people who are checking it out in advance.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I mean, it was inviting ActonTV to be a part of this journey. It was an excellent experience, and I hope other residents can get to experience this nature, this closeness to nature.